Hi guys, welcome to another episode of our full stack mobile development series. In today's episode, we are going to finish the onboarding process by building the add new account screen, as well as integrating the APIs we built in our previous episode. So to begin, let's go ahead and build this UI in our Flutter project. So I head over to my Android studio. Let's go ahead and run the application. So that's it. The user is already logged in. When we log out, we can go through the process again. I enter my email. Password 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and I log in. I set my pin 1 2 3 4. Now I'm here. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is when the user is going through the onboarding process after the pin, we have to check if the user has an account, and if the user does not have an account, we show them this UI. So for now, what we are going to do is, because we just want to focus on building the UI, we head over to our helper, and then over here, if everything is good, we go to the home. We don't want to go to the home, so we want to go to the setup account screen. So I create setup account, which is going to be this route. Okay, and then in my helper, I switch this to setup account. I head over to my main, and then we have setup account. Now we need to create our setup account screen. So in my views, I'm going to create a new directory, call it account, and then create a .dat file, setup account. So this is going to be, could be a stateless widget. So setup account, and it has no states. Yeah, and then I go ahead to my home, and oh, I forgot to add there. I think it's nice if we keep all our screens as stateful for now. So setup account screen. Okay, you might want to at a later point manage states. So let's do it for now. And now I have my screen. I go ahead and import it. Okay, so now let's restart the application. And after everything, it's going to come to the screen, right? And this screen has a test sub title here and a button. It looks similar to when we're setting up the this one, the email, just that it doesn't have the icon, okay, or the pin. So we can go ahead and build it. So let's set up your account, and that's okay. So like I said, it's similar to when we're setting up the password reset screen. So here we need our scaffold, and then it has no app bar, but the background color is going to app colors PG color, and then we have the body, which is going to be our column, and then you have the children. Okay, so that's it. We have it here, and then we have the test, this test. So I'm just going to go ahead and say test and put this here. So that's the test over there, and we are getting this because we do not have an app bar, and that's why we are getting all that. So what we can also do is we can wrap all of this in a safe area. Okay, so and then you get this. What we can also do is we can wrap the entire column in padding. So padding edge insert all 24, and then put our child there. Child there. And then we can put our app spacing. So vertical, because we want to have a bit of space. Start from 48, and then we have it there. Now let's style this test as we have it in the UI. So this is a medium 36. So style, go to app styles, medium, and by default the medium is 16, but for this one we want a size of 36. Okay, so that's it. We have our top bar. I think we have it there, and then the text below it. We can duplicate this for now. Take this, put the comma there, wrap this to the next line, and then this is the body 3. So this is medium 14. So we have medium 14, and that's it there. We need some spacing, so I'm just going to duplicate this, leave it to the default, which is size 24. So we have it an account blah. Yeah, so that's the top side, and then we have the button at the bottom. So we have our button component where the label is continue, and then for now we don't have any on press. Okay, so that's the button there. You realize the button is all the way down and there's this huge space. Now what we are going to do is we are going to use the spacer, and that will automatically put the exact amount of space between the top and the bottom. So as you can see here, and then at the bottom of this we can put a bit of vertical spacing. Yeah, so that's it. That's our UI. The spacer will automatically push everything up and down. For us, if you want to put more space at the top, you can have it there, and then you have this. So the spacer reduces to take the remaining space. I add const here. All right, so now we have this UI. On click this button, then we move to this UI. But let's first take this test and then move it into our app strings. So app strings, for now I've not created it, so I'm just going to bring this here. I need to change this code, escape it, and then let's set up your account. And then we are going to have the let's set up your account hint, which is going to be this one. Okay. So that's the hint, that's the test. So here, let's set up your account, and then this is going to be let's set up your account hint. All right, so now that is done. We have this, and also for the continue, we already have that. That's the continue test. Okay, so that's our UI. All right. Now on top of on press this button, we want to navigate the user to this second screen where they are going to have the form to input the account. So that's going to be our new UI. That file here, add account, and it's going to be a stateful widget called add account screen. Okay, go ahead and import material. All right, now we first go to home, to the main. We create this add account, and then in our main.dat we say add account route to the add account screen. All right, so now we have our add account, and then on the setup here on press, we want to say that navigator push named, and that's going to be context. We remember want to keep our stuff from before, so of context push name, and then app route we are going to have add account. So that's what happens when the user taps on this. So let's go ahead and try it. When you tap on this, you get a new screen. Now let's build the new the account screen. So as we did, because we are going to have a form, we are going to have a gesture detector here, and on top we are going to have the context on focus, right? So that we lose all the focus we had, is to help us hide the keyboard, as we talked about in the previous episode. So now we have our chart, and then our chart is going to be our scaffold. Now if you look at the UI we have here, we have the add new account with the arrow and everything. That's the app bar. So we're going to have our app bar, and then we are going to say build app bar, right? And the context is there, and the title is add new account. We are going to move this into the strings. We just want to have this for now. Okay, so let me just have this column down here. Okay, so as you can see, we have add new account, but the app bar is the same as the primary color. So that means you have to change the app bar based on certain conditions. So here, what we are going to do is we are going to go to build app bar here, and then we are going to have some optional parameters. So the first one is going to be an allowable color, which is going to be the background color, and then another nullable color, which is going to be the foreground color. So I can just go ahead and write this in full. All right, so if the background color is provided, then it's equal to this. If not, we take our default there, and then we are going to tint the foreground as well. So let's for now work on this one. So here we have the background color, which is going to be app colors dot primary. And the reason why we are doing this is if you look through the UI, there are places where the color is red, is green, and all that. So we just want to have a simple way of changing the color of the app bar. So as you can see now, it's the primary color, and then we have to change the text. So we have our build app bar, and then the color of this is equal to the foreground color. Sorry, or it's going to be colors dot. So if you don't provide anything, we assume it's black. You have to remove the const here. Okay, so what we are saying is this is the foreground color. If it's provided, then that's the color that you should pass to the icon. If nothing, it's going to resort to what it is before, because this color is a nullable color. The same thing for our test. We want to say that the color is equal to the foreground color. And like I said, it's also nullable, and you can just have, sorry, just copy the foreground here. All right. But with this, the app title, as you can see here, the color is nullable, but the color we pass here is not nullable. So you have to compulsorily pass a color. What we can also say is that this is nullable, and if you don't pass anything, by default is equal to black, right? So then we go to this app bar, and then we don't have this issue. So if you don't pass anything, nothing happens. If you pass a foreground color, it takes that foreground color. Now let's refresh this. Nothing happens, and that's because in the add account we've also not specified the foreground color. So here the foreground color is going to be colors.white, right? So as you can see now, we have the same app bar for the add account. Now with this UI, what you can normally do is you can build all of this in one column, prevent scrolling and all that, and use a spacer and achieve this. However, because depending on the size of the screen, some of the things have to be pushed up and down and allow the user to scroll. We are going to first use a list view and then do it in a very smart way. So I'm just going to first go ahead and change this into a list view so that we have scrolling by default. And we're going to have padding, which is edge insets or 24. All right, now the first thing we need to have, let me move this first from here. So app strings, and it's going to have this add new accounts, add new account. I'm just going to make this uppercase. Okay, so add new account is there. The next string you want to have is balance, and then this, and then everything down here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do balance, which is balance. We have name, currency, account type. So name, we already have name, currency, and account type. All right, now let's go back to our form, and then let's write our first test. So our first test is the balance, string balance. Okay, and that's going to write it here. And then if you look at the balance, let's look at the style. So this is a semi-bold 18. So the app style is app styles semi-bold, and semi-bold by default is 18. So we don't need to pass the size. All right. Now that's our balance. As you can see here, the whole area is the primary color. So I'm going to take this, have a container, right, and then have the color, which is going to be our primary color, and then the chart is going to have a column. So here I'm going to have a column because I'm going to have the balance and other things. Sorry, children. Okay, so now this is it. Now, if you remember, because we put this padding here on the list view, it's going to affect everything. So what we are going to do is we are going to take away this padding from the list view. And then as you can see now, we have the balance and everything over here. And then we have the test. So we can work on the color. So color is go to colors dot white. But if you look at this white and you compare it to what we have in the UI here, this is a bit faint. So we have to also reduce the opacity. So this color with opacity 0. Let's start from 0.7, and that's faded enough, as you can see there. All right, now let's work on the main axis alignment start and the cross axis alignment start. Okay, so that it moves it to the left. So that means we now need to apply the padding to everything in that column. Okay, in this column. So we take our column padding, edge insets, all 24. And then we're going to have a chart, which is going to be this. All right, format it, and path comes to this. And now we have this here. So the next thing we need is our test with the currency and everything. For now, I can just hard code that for now. With this one, we don't need the opacity because it's bold enough. And the test is going to be the $0.00. We have to escape the dollar sign. Okay. And then we need this, right? Now that's our test there. Let's look at the font size. So this is semi-bold 64. So semi-bold, and the size is 64. All right, and rearrange the style a bit for now so that we have everything on one line. Yeah, so that's the screen coming up nicely, and then you have the one at the bottom. So what I want us to do is, you realize the UI, this space is like everything is pushed almost halfway down. So what we are going to do is we can also have a space, the app spacing vertical, and the size we can use the media query of the context. We get the sizes, we get the height of the screen, and we divide it exactly into two. So that should take exactly half of the screen. So that means that everything should be pushed half of the screen here. We can also reduce it and say that split it into 3 so that you have 1/3 of the screen. Right, you can also split it into 4 and you have like 1/4 of the screen. So that's what we are saying is that we're taking the screen into chunks and then we are pushing everything down. So for now, I'm just going to keep it at 5, and then this should be down enough, right? Should be all the way down. Okay, let's go ahead. So now what we need to do is we need to build this white container down here. So I'm going to go ahead and in my list view, this is my first container. So I'm going to have my second container, which has a different background. So for this one, I'm going to use decoration because you want to twist the sides of it there. So I'm going to have a box decoration. And then the color is going to be colors.white. Okay, and then I'm going to have the chart, which is going to have my column here. All right, so this is it. And then now let's work on this. So on the border, we're going to have border radius only. So the top right and top left. So top right, I'm going to have a radius circle of 515. And I think let's start with 32. And then I need to do the same thing, but this time for the top left. So top, sorry, copy this, and then I can do this here. Top left is going to be 32 as well. Now you don't see anything because the container does not have any anything in the column. So we are going to go ahead and do that. For now, we can add our first in the container. We're going to have this. That means I'm first going to take all of this. Now, remember we removed the padding from the top level, so you have to apply the padding on each level. So padding, edge insets, insets all 24, and this is going to be my child, and this is going to be a test input component. Remember we had a test input component from our previous episode, and in the UI the first one is name, so I'm going to have my name, and the test editing controller is going to be a new test editing controller. Okay, so now we have this here, and that's how we are going to build on our container. So as you can see, the container is there, the background and everything is there, the radius is also there. I'm going to show you why it's not curling to the sides. That's what we are supposed to work on. Okay, so to achieve that, if you remember, when we're building the top part, we used a container to color this part, and because of that, everything ends on this line. Now what we can do is we can first take this container, which was in this padding, take all of this, move everything out, and then it's going to lose the color. It's going to be the background color of the scaffold, and then we go to our scaffold, and then we update the background color of our scaffold to be the primary color. So that means everything is the primary color except this white one. So as you can see now, we have the rounded edges over there. Okay, so everything on this screen will have the primary color except that particular container, and that's what this UI is trying to tell us, that everything except this part has that color. Okay, so we go ahead and then we work more on this. So here I can have some up spacing, sorry, and then I have a vertical so that my form goes down a bit. I think this is too much. 16 should be enough. Okay, so that is the first one. I need a comma, sorry. So we have the name. We could have all three for now. We do not have I can remove the size. We do not have the select box, so we have to build the select input component. But for now, I'm just going to use the test input to show what I'm talking about. Okay, so account type. All right, so now this is our form. So name, currency, account type, and then the next thing is the button component. So the label is continue. So we can already have our continue test, upstream continue test, and on press. For now, we do not have anything for the on press. Okay, so and then another one below the comma. So as you can see, that's our UI. And now when the keyboard is shown, we can then scroll up so that the keyboard does not cover the UI. So that's why we are using a list view so that we get this. And then can do this a bit. We can have a size of 32 over here, or even 48. Okay, so that we fill the UI. Now this is just a temporary solution to sort of fill up the whole screen. Depending on the size of the screen, it's going to shrink a bit, but the whole idea is to make sure that we have the balance halfway into the screen of the person's UI, and the rest can go down, and then they can scroll up if they need to. That's the whole idea. They can scroll up if they need to. So now we have our name field, we have the currency, and we have the account type. But as you can see from the UI here, And from our previous episode, we built the options for currency as well as the options for account type. So we have to integrate the API to do this. But before that, let's build the actual form components for the select input. Now for this, I'm going to use a Flutter package called dropdown search. It's very good. So I'm going to head over to dev and look for dropdown search. Okay, so this is what we are going to use. It's a very nice package. It even allows you to use API calls and all that, but we are going to attack it in a very different scenario. So if you want to have an example, this is how it looks. Okay, now let's build our drop-down component. Okay, so we first head over to our components, which is here. So we have our form component, and then we can either duplicate this test input or build one. So for now, I'm just going to duplicate this and call it select input, and then change anything test input to select input. All right, so for the select input, it doesn't have a test editing controller. It's not a password, and it doesn't have a test input action and text input type. So we're just going to remove those ones that we do not necessarily need, and then keep the ones that we do need. Okay, so that's it. Now this is not going to return a test form field, but it's going to return our drop down search. Now to do this, we head over to the installation. It's just going to say Flutter. We can go ahead and install this using the terminal. Just open our integrated terminal here, and then we run the command. Basically adding the dependency here, which is drop down search for us. Okay, so now in here, instead of having this return or that, the reason why I wanted us to duplicate is I don't want us to spend time redoing the whole decoration. So we're just going to keep the decoration for now. We change this to drop down search, or I just go ahead here, return drop down search. Now with the drop down search, you need to pass the type of what is the data type. All right, so by default it's a search, so you have a list of items. By default it's a string because you have a list of items and you select one of them and that becomes the value. Okay, so for now let's just work around with the string. We are going to follow what's in their documentation. So they have this. We are going to copy this all over here, and then we are just going to have a simple one. Okay, now what I wanted from here is the decoration, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy this decoration and keep it on my clipboard. All right, so we have our select input. We go away with this, and then we go to our form here. So now we change this to a select input component, and that doesn't have this. Right, now we save. As you can see, now we have our select input, and it's this drop down, right? Just as we talked about. Now let's make this input look like this, and to do that we need to have the decoration, and that's why I decided to keep the decoration from before. So we have the decoration, but as you can see we have the drop down decorator props here, and this is where the decoration happens, so the label and everything. What I need is this input decoration, so I'm just going to remove all of this and then replace it with the one from the library. We still have to do improvement. Now before we go ahead to the decoration, so here show selected items true, disable item function. So what this is saying that any item that starts with I should be marked disable, and that's why if you look at the UI here, Italia is disabled because it starts with an I. We don't want that. Now we have these items. So selected item by default, this is the one that's marked as selected. Now over here we need to import this colors, and we do not have a surface icon for this, so we can go ahead and remove the surface icon. So now we have the decoration from our textbook, and that's why I wanted us to keep this so that it becomes easy for us because we have the opacity and everything. Now if we look at the UI, you realize that this looks exactly like it. Okay, so we go back, we come back here. Now it looks like this. We can go ahead and remove this for now, so nothing is selected. And you can even go ahead and remove this completely. So if you come, as you can see, it looks exactly like it, and then when you choose something, it becomes selected, and hint goes up. So that's the whole idea. So that's it. Now remember, we are hard coding the options, we are not tracking the changes and everything, so we need to do that. So now we need to take, first we need to take what the selected item is. So over here we need to pass what the type of this is going to be. Over here I'm going to have T, and then I'm going to pass this here, okay, of type T, and this extends that. Okay, so now we've passed this, so we are going to make it generic enough, and then we are going to replace this here. So the drop down is going to have this of a type T. Okay, and that means that this has to match, the items have to match what we are passing as T. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to pass a final list of type T as items. So oh, sorry, I just need the of type T as items, and this becomes our widget dot items. Because it's of that type, I can go ahead and add cons to this, and then we think we are done. We have to here, here the items are required, and also we need another one to keep track of the selected item. So the selected item is going to be this T, and we also need to have that. So that is that. And then over here, so on change, we have the value. Oh, sorry. And then we are going to say that the selected item, so set state the selected item is going. So we can also keep track of this, or we can send the selected item back to whoever is calling it, like what we did in our checkbox input here, where we have the checkbox, and on change we're setting state where the value, which is this, is equal to this, and we are calling the unchanged here. So this, we can do the same thing in the select box. So instead of calling this T here, let me undo this. We say that whoever wants to keep track of this then should just pass a function that will keep track of it. So value change, and here is T, and then on change we copy this, and then this becomes our unchanged. So widget dot unchanged. Oh, it's supposed to be a function of T. Okay, now that is done, we can go ahead and update our ad account with the necessary parameters. So here we need to pass our list. So at this point we can say currency GHS USD, and then we need to add the unchanged, which is then going to be string value, and then over here we can just say print the value. Okay, so we can just go ahead and refresh the entire app. So what we are saying is that we are passing this list, and based on these items it's going to know what the type is, and the type is going to be the strings and everything. So here we select this, and then if you look at our run here, it prints what the currency is, as you can see. Right, now what we can also do is in our select type here, if you look at this, we are showing it as a dot menu. We can let it show as a modal bottom sheet, and that means that it will come up as this, as you can see here. Or we can let it show as a bottom sheet, which will also give us sort of the same effect, right? All right, so that's with the currency. We can go ahead and duplicate this logic and then do it for the account type. And here, copy this account type, and here we can say savings or bank or current. We use current. Okay, and we do away with this. So account type, savings or current, the same thing, we get this. Okay, so that's it for the form. Now let's go ahead and make one last change to the form before we integrate the APIs. Okay, so over here you realize when the currency changes, it's supposed to change this, okay, test up here. That means we have to split the two of these. And to do that, what we are going to then do is we are going to have a row of this. So a column is this, a row is in this, and the first row is going to be the currency, and the second row item is going to be the text, which is the number. So here we have the currency, which is going to be this. Now you're going to have an error when you save. So here we have 0.00. So if I change this to GHS, this becomes my currency, and then I have it here. Now we want the user to also then have this. We want everything in here to take the full length of the screen, and then we have some space just after the currency. Okay, so that means we need to keep track of what the currency is and then show it to the user. Okay, so here I'm going to have my string, which is going to be selected currency. Okay, all right, and then when the user selects the currency, I show that currency here. So I'm going to have it down here instead of the GHS. I'm going to show the currency. Okay, so by default it's null, and we do not want to show null. So if it's not null, then we show it's so if it's null, we do this, show it. If not, show this one, and then we have okay, yeah, we don't want the unnecessary interpolation. So when I choose this, you update the selected currency. So instead of printing the value over here, you say that set state, and you can do this in one liner. The selected currency is equal to the value we are returning from our component. So if I choose GHS, that's GHS. If I choose USD, that's USD. So we can also update this GHS USD as the currency or the Norwegian krona. Okay, so over here we have the symbols. As you can see, it changes per what I type. All right, and then also this test here it's supposed to be an input where the user can actually type something. Okay, so that means we need our test component over here. Now, if you remember in our UI when we were building the UI, we had some input boxes that necessarily wasn't this rounded. For example, when we're doing this, we had to come up with our own test input. So we are going to do the same thing over here. So for now, we do not necessarily want to use this test input. We want to this test form field, which this test input component, which wraps around this test form field. We want to go ahead and write a new one for ourselves for this particular field. Okay, so over here, I'm going to remove all of this, and then I'm going to have a test form field. Okay, so we have our test form field, and then as you can see, this is the test form field. Okay, all right, so now let's style it. Like I said, the size was let's look at the size again. It was semi-bold 64, so semi-bold size of 64. So that's the size of what we type here. So that, and then the color was colors dot white. Okay, so that's it. But we do not want this underline in anything, so we want to go to decoration, and then we go to input decoration, and then here we want the border, and we say input border none. Okay, so we are saying that don't give us any border, don't give us any underline. I mean, we can keep the cursor for now, or what we can also say is that the cursor color should be at least the white, so that it makes sense that it's showing the cursor. And I think 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, at least we should show up to 9 so value. So let's reduce this to 48 so that it makes a bit more. Yeah, so we can show up to 9. We can even take it a bit down because I think the 64 was a bit too much. And then let's have a bit of a space between these two. Okay, so we can have up spacing. Now remember, we've wrapped this in expanded, so it's going to take all the space that is left. So up spacing horizontal, and the size should be at least 4 now. so that there's enough spacing. Okay, so yeah, let me see, something around 8. Yeah, that's a bit okay. And then now we also want to make sure that the keyboard that we show the user is not this, but it's supposed to be numbers. So we come out of this. I can add const here and then say that keyboard type, and this is going to be a test input type, and this is going to be number, but number with options where decimal is true, because we want the user to enter money, so it could be decimals. So when the is shown, as you can see, 50. Now I get this because in my location, this is what we use for the decimal point. So depending on what the user has on their phone, they will get that. So if you are in Africa or America, you get the period instead of the comma for decimals. We talked about this in the previous episode, so we're already handling that, and that's what we are trying to achieve here. So when they go ahead and they select the currency, then you have the currency over there. Okay, so that's the form. When the user comes in, we continue, and then they get the option to choose this and do all that. But we also want to show the user the amount by default. So over here, because we have the test form field here, we're going to have our controller, and this by default this going to be 0.00 as test. Okay, so when they go back and we come in, by default is 0.00, and then also with the currency, by default we can go ahead and select dollar. And to do that, we also need one where we have to say that the selected item, right? We're supposed to pass the selected item. So here, these are the items, and then we say that selected item, which is the one that is selected, and it's going to be a nullable. It's not required, so I'm going to add this. It's not required. If it's provided, then you have it. So that's going to be the widget dot selected item. All right, now we are doing this because over here we want to have the selected item. So these are the items, and then we have the selected item, and I want to have the US dollar as my selected item. Okay, so when the user goes and comes back, that's my selected item. Okay, I can also, instead of doing that, say that the selected item is equal to my selected currency, and my selected currency by default is equal to the US dollar. Okay, so when I close the form and I come back, by default is equal to the US dollar. Okay, it's already selected. And that's it for the form. In this episode, we are focusing on building the form. And then when the user taps on continue, you tell the user that you are all set, and then you proceed. Okay, so that's what we are focused on building. So over here, when the user taps continue, they are routed to the all set. Okay, I think, all right, so we can have the last screen, which is the sign up success in the auth, and that's sign up success. So that's going to be a stateful sign up success screen. Good. And then, oh, I made a mistake. Yeah, I have to rename this success, and then we can go ahead and recreate this sign up success screen, and then import material. Okay, and then we have our scaffold with the background color being app colors dot background color, and the body being a center with the child, and it has this too. So I could also use a column and then have the children. I need to remove this cons because of that color. And then we have this image, and then this test, the same way we had for the meal. So we can go ahead and export that. I'm going to export that at least 2x. Okay, so success icon. I'm going to export this. All right, so that's my success. Head over to my assets images, and then I drop it here. Okay, so success. And then just as we did for the email in our previous episode, it's just a center. With that, I'm just going to go ahead and copy this, and then so that we can go ahead and save time. So that's our success, and that's our sign up success screen. So let's head over to the main, have the sign up success screen, and then put that also in our route, sign up success. All right, and then sign up success. Import the screen. Oh, sorry, we changed the add account instead of adding. Okay. All right. So on the add account, when the user taps on this, we say that navigator of the contest push named app route sign up success. Okay. That's for now. We are not submitting the form. We've not integrated anything. We are just building the UIs. So when they do this, and then we have that. Okay. So let's work on our sign up success screen. I think it's just going to be at least fourth of it. And then in our column, we're going to have main axis alignment center so that everything starts from the center. Okay. And then we have our center there. So we don't even need a center because we are using the axis alignment. So up spacing, vertical, and then we have our test saying that all is set. Now, if you look at this, success. Okay, you are set. Okay, so that's our test. So test, you are set. And then we can look at them as medium 24. So styles up, styles, medium, size is 24. So let's move this to our app strings. Okay, so here you are set. All right, so that's our string. You are set. Now let's look at it. That's the UI. I need to remove the extra code. Okay, and then cross-axis alignment center, so that we have everything. Oh yeah, I know why. I'm going to explain. Okay, so that's the UI. Let's go ahead and refresh everything. Okay, so continue. Then we get this. So that's why we have to wrap this, because once you have 2 or 3 more items in the column, then it automatically starts moving it to the left. So that's it. Center this, and then we have the app spacing, and then the test saying that you are set. And that's our UI. So that's the screen for the last screen. And I think after the last screen, this will just show for a few seconds and then show this page. So that's it for today's episode. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. In the next episode, we are going to integrate the APIs from our previous episodes. We are going to submit the form. We are going to create the account and store the accounts also locally in the application. I'm going to drop a link to the GitHub repositories in the description below. I'm also going to add a Discord channel in case you have any problem, any question, or any suggestions. You can also message me on Discord, and then I will get back to you. All right, see you.